Okay, let's go to Alberta now, where the relationship between that province and the new federal government has already been a source of conflict. There is potential the province may hold a referendum on separating from Canada sometime in the next couple of years. CBC's Paige Parsons joins me now live from Edmonton. Paige, how is the makeup of Carney's new cabinet playing in Alberta so far?
Well, Sarah, there wasn't a lot of room for Alberta to make much of a dent in this cabinet, and that's because we only have 2 elected Liberal MPs in this province. One of them from here in Edmonton, Eleanor Olszewski. She's actually picked up 2 cabinet posts today. She's the Minister of Emergency Management and Community Resilience, and she's also has the Prairies Economic Development file. And that Prairies portfolio is one of the new ones created today with this new government. And it reflects that focus we were kind of expecting from Mark Carney's government on economic resilience, especially amidst the ongoing trade tensions with the United States.
But it's quite striking that many of the portfolios have added to them economic development for provinces and regions. So that's telling us that this single Canadian economy, working to try to build the Canadian economy to protect workers and so forth, is absolutely central to this government.
So Olszewski is the sole Alberta minister. Calgary did also elect a Liberal MP, Corey Hogan, but he did not make it into cabinet today. Still, the mayor of that city, Mayor Jyoti Gondek, she is really saying she's anxious to start working with this government on issues that really matter in her city. And she's specifically looking forward to working with the new Energy and Natural Resources Minister, Tim Hodgson.
It's a pretty urgent time for new Minister Hodgson to come out to Calgary to talk about energy and what we can do in partnership with the federal government to really show to the world that we are the safest, most secure and reliable source of energy.
Alberta's United Conservative government, I know, has expressed some concern about all of this. What's the initial reaction from the Premier?
So yeah, Premier Smith did put out a statement today, and in it, she really took aim at the new Environment Minister, Julie Debruzin. She said she was concerned about this pick. She called her another so-called leave it in the ground minister. And Premier Smith had a phone call with Prime Minister Mark Carney that she was originally said was a positive one, but she's also made a number of demands on Ottawa for things that the federal government needs to do to reset its relationship with Alberta. And she's now signaling today that with at least some of these cabinet appointments, she's not very happy with the direction that things are going. But I think what we'll continue to see, from the provincial government, from other voices here in Alberta, is definitely like a focus and interest in how the federal government's relationship with the energy sector specifically is going to evolve as we move on.
CBC's Paige Parsons in Edmonton, thank you. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith has made her views on the new federal cabinet clear. Let's dig into those comments and all the reaction with Ryan Jespersen. He is the host of Real Talk, a daily news and political podcast. And he joins us today from Edmonton. Good to speak with you, Ryan.
It's great to be back. Thank you for having me.
So, cabinet minister, only one, but there really were only 2 possible choices. But is one enough representation for Alberta to satisfy some of the dissenting voices in that province?
Yeah, I mean, well, this has long been the message that Liberal supporters and volunteers and door knockers have been proclaiming, and that is that if a Liberal government is elected, and of course somewhat miraculously, and I think that some folks here on the prairies are still kind of sorting through what happened and what Mark Carney managed to pull off on the 28th of April. The message from Liberal campaigners has been, if you want representation around the cabinet table, you've got to send Liberals to Ottawa. And pollsters and poll aggregators had Alberta potentially sending as many as 7 MPs to Ottawa. Of course, that did not happen, as you've been reporting, just 2. And so, I guess unless Alberta thought that it was going to go 100%, 2 for 2 for representation in Mark Carney's cabinet, maybe this shouldn't come as a surprise. I am somewhat personally surprised, and I'm definitely not the one calling the shots here, but a little surprised to see that Corey Hogan didn't make the cut. Obviously, a prominent podcaster, political commentator, formerly the top dog with Alberta government communications, and of course a VP at the University of Calgary, widely respected, very intelligent person, and of course managed to pull off maybe not an upset, but certainly a tight race there in that Calgary Confederation riding against a former Conservative MLA, Jeremy Nixon. So I think a lot of people thought that Corey Hogan might be represented in cabinet. Albertans are still, to be fair, getting to know Eleanor Olszewski a little bit. Longtime Liberal Party members and volunteers know her as a huge player within that party, someone who's been a big part of Liberal momentum in the province of Alberta for a while. But relatively speaking, not a household name in the province. And of course, she'll now be tasked with a ministry, which I think is a good opportunity for Edmonton. It's one that makes sense in the province of Alberta. The Ministry of Emergency Management. Of course, Alberta has seen its fair share of natural disasters, including that big Jasper fire, Fort McMurray, Slave Lake before that, and then as economic development as well, Prairie's economic development, which I think is a message that this government has been sending, of course, across the country, but in particular to Albertans that are concerned about what a fourth-term Liberal government might mean for the province's bottom line, most particularly its oil and gas sector.
Yeah, because I got to get this one in here. Danielle Smith. I mean, she's not. I don't think critical of the one cabinet minister that's been picked, but she is critical through her chief of staff of the new environment minister that has been chosen, Julie Debruzin. How's that playing out?
Yeah, well, I mean, predictably would be my short answer. You're right. The Premier's chief of staff, Rob Anderson, calls it pouring gas onto the fire. I think that they're associating her, obviously, as a former parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Environment, as Guilbeault's right-hand person over the past number of years. They've noted her opposition to plastics as toxic and the idea that she would continue to cap production in Alberta's oil sands. But what did we expect to see? We didn't actually expect to see Alberta's Conservative Premier issue a ringing endorsement of this cabinet. Of course, they're going to find something that they've got a problem with, whether that's a negotiating tool or something more. I guess we'll find out. Paige just did a great job talking about this supposedly productive phone call that Alberta's Premier and the Prime Minister had, and I think everybody here is waiting to see what economic and environmental policy under this new government will look like, considering the last 10 years.
I mean, so Mark Carney has talked about Canada becoming a political powerhouse. He's talking about energy. So regardless of the, environment minister, that is what he, as the Prime Minister, signaled is a priority. I'm wondering, how does that kind of talk, what does that do to the talk of possible separation? I mean, we keep hearing about the potential for a referendum on separation, not happening tomorrow, but over potentially the next year or two. Does it quiet that talk, do you think?
Well, I mean, I think just as notable maybe as the appointment of the environment minister is the appointment of Tim Hodgson replacing Jonathan Wilkinson as the Minister of Natural Resources. And I think his history in banking and commerce, economic development, probably has to be somewhat encouraging for oil and gas players in the province and the thousands of people that work in that industry. Regarding the separation talk, I mean, I think most of your viewers know that while Alberta's Premier has said that she doesn't want to trigger this referendum, no, that's the last thing she wants to do. She has made it significantly easier to trigger a referendum in the province of Alberta with that Bill 54 that takes requirements from 600,000 signatures down to 177,000, gives them another month to get them as well, up to 4 months. And so the assumption here is that a citizen-led group with, I'm sure, ample funding will be pursuing getting those signatures, and we'll probably see a referendum at some point in 2026. Of course, worst case scenario for the would-be separatists is that Mark Carney actually is able to improve Alberta's fortunes and able to see Canada's economic success bump up as well, the high tide raising all boats. And it puts separatists or Alberta sovereigntists into an interesting position, because you don't want to be cheering against the country, do you?
Ryan, thanks so much. That's Ryan Jespersen, the host of Real Talk. It's a daily news and politics podcast, joining us from Edmonton.